Today on Rescue Vet, a 5-year-old English Bulldog is taken to the emergency room after her owners discover that she is unable to breathe.
Anytime you're doing surgery on an airway in a Bulldog, you're on red alert. Airways in Bulldogs can go bad quickly.
A 9-week-old emu is brought in for possible neurological issues, which may lead to a traumatic death if not treated immediately.
To have the burden of falling, twisting her neck, breaking a leg, that could lead to her being put down fairly quickly.
At veterinary specialty care, a 5-year-old English Bulldog named Dixie has been admitted to the emergency room because she is unable to breathe.
She was having trouble breathing and throwing up. We went to our regular doctor, and he felt like she needed to be on oxygen like overnight. And they don't provide that service. They don't have anybody that stays at night. So he called here and had them waiting on us when we got here. She's part of our family, has been, will be.
Breathing problems are not uncommon for this breed, especially during the hot months of summer.
It gets to be 100 degrees out and they start panting, okay? And so that palate starts flapping around, it gets a little more swollen, and the air doesn't pass as well, so they start panting more, because the only way they can cool themselves is to pant. The harder they pant, the more inflamed it gets, and the harder it is to pant. And so then they can't cool themselves and they can't oxygenate themselves, so they oftentimes come in here with temperatures of 108 degrees. If you can get them all calmed down again, and you can give them some steroids and let the swelling go down, and you bypass their airway for a while, then you can buy yourself some time. Just press it. Let me cheer it.
Dr. Bianucci listens closely to her breathing to find out where the obstruction may be coming from.
Do you think she needs tube placed tonight?
I don't think it's a bad idea. Yeah, I mean, I think if you think they need a tube, they need a tube.
Dixie is put under anesthesia so that doctors can place a temporary tube into her trachea to provide oxygen directly into her lungs.
This is a temporary tube that's going to go under her neck, and it's going to bypass her upper airway. All the problems are up here, okay? So we're going to put this tube in here and get her through the night, and yeah, that's the safest way to go. If she had not been brought here, if Dr. Love had not treated her, put the tube in, she would have died. So she was on her way out.
Dixie is quickly prepared for the initial surgery. It is essential that the doctors move fast to get a tube placed into the trachea so that Dixie can breathe on her own.
Okay, so let's just keep that open a little bit. You got the little retractors there?
Now that the temporary tube has been placed in Dixie's trachea, she will need 24-hour care to make sure the tube stays clean and functions properly. This will also allow time for the swelling in Dixie's trachea to go down, making her a more stable candidate for surgery the next day.
She should be okay.
Yeah, she's breathing.
The temporary tube is working, but there is no guarantee that Dixie will make it through the night. Today at All Creatures Veterinary Clinic, Sarah Dillow, a longtime client of Dr. Berger's, has brought in her 9-week-old emu, Penny.
Penny hatched out in our incubator about 9 weeks ago. We bought a couple of eggs. We had never had emus before, decided we wanted to try them. So we put them in the incubator, hatched them, and here we are.
Sarah and her family own several acres of land where they adopt, rehabilitate, and breed a variety of exotic animals. Penny has been having what appears to be neurological issues.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Berger.
How are we?
I'm good.
That's beautiful. Hi, baby.
Penny's in a big pasture area on a couple of acres. She's been acting kind of funny lately, doing a little bit of wobblies.
Okay.
I've seen her tumble a couple of times. I don't know if something's maybe wrong with her balance or if she maybe has swallowed something that might be of concern.
Okay.
Being that we hatched Penny out ourselves and watched her grow from day one, held her the day she hatched out, she's really grown on us. We're very attached to her, and we're very concerned with her health.
For a young bird that's already gangly and uncoordinated, to have the burden of falling, twisting her neck, breaking a leg, any of those, that could lead to her being put down fairly quickly.
If Penny does have a neurological problem, if he recommends euthanasia, that's something we would have to consider. She's just touched us that much that it's important to us that, you know, she's okay. We're hoping the best for her.
Any coughing or sneezing?
No.
And eating okay?
Seems to be, yep.
Any calcium supplements?
No. Should I have her on some?
Growing birds get hypocalcemic. They have a low calcium, and that can cause neurologic things.
Checking the calcium levels of a young bird is difficult, so it is often easier to supplement the calcium into the diet first to see if it has any effect on a bird's neurological behavior.
Are you in a mosquito-y area?
Yes.
Okay.
Mosquitoes can carry many viruses which may be transmitted to birds. If Penny does have a virus, it could indicate a problem with the mosquitoes in the area, and the Department of Natural Resources would have to be called in to determine if there is a potential for human infection.
Okay, all right, good. What we were looking at when we were looking at the neurologic exam of the bird is how it was a little bit staggery and a little stumbling. And one thing that causes that is a calcium abnormality, not having enough calcium. With a bird, you know, where the arms are adapted to feathers and wings instead of balance, she's only got 2 feet to balance on. So I was really worried about her because there's not a lot of tools in our arsenal for treating this in emus. You know, I would suggest that you do a calcium supplement.
Okay.
And you can use like even a reptile calcium mist just over her food. That's a mist that she can spray on the food that has activated calcium in it, so that at least we can get some of that started right away. Sometimes they'll eat eggshells. Okay. So if you cook eggs, put them on maybe from one of your other animals that eats the hard-boiled eggs.
Right.
Use the eggshells and just crush them up, put them in her food. That'll help with the calcium.
Dr. Berger will follow up with Penny in a few months to see if the calcium supplements were able to resolve her neurological issues. If that is ineffective, there is a possibility she may have a virus transmitted from mosquitoes.
Right.
What'd you think? Yeah, you did well. Okay. All right.
The trachea tube has kept Dixie alive and breathing overnight. However, it is only a temporary solution.
Hey, sweet girl. Hello, beautiful. Oh, you are the nicest dog. Hello, honey. You ready to have your little palate fixed? Huh, you beautiful dog? Oh my gosh, that dog's adorable. Come on, sweetheart. Come here, buddy. Come here, my sweet dog. Come on now.
Now that the swelling has gone down, Dr. Bianucci can take a better look inside Dixie's trachea. Anesthesia is administered so that Dixie will be fully sedated during the next examination.
That's not opening at all. Come on, buddy. Take a breath. Hey, Lori.
Hey.
I think he's got laryngeal paralysis.
Dr. Ludwig, staff surgeon at Veterinary Specialty Care, is called in to help decide what will be the best procedure for Dixie.
Dr. Ludwig and I looked, and what we found was that not only did she have the long palate and the redundant tissue in the airway, she also had a paralyzed larynx. It was not functioning normally. It wasn't opening the way that it should. And in addition to that, it was partially collapsed. And so we had a bit of a challenge in front of us to decide how much do you do, because doing too much can be a problem as well. guess the question is, why would he be 5 years old and never had a problem?
Well, the saccules could be, but at the same time, he doesn't have normal function.
So what if I do the saccules and a tieback?
That shouldn't affect, yeah, I would think that should be all right because...
The saccules are tissues that have extended into the airway and are swollen, causing obstruction. The soft palate is elongated, swollen, and causing obstruction as well. The combination of these issues will lead to suffocation if no surgery is done.
A little mindful of the fact that you can get progressive collapse of an airway. I'm a little unsure of why she developed what she developed in the first place, because it wasn't typical. It's not your typical abnormality for a bulldog. Hey, is this Mr. Forbes? Hey, I just want to touch base with you. We started our procedure on Dixie. Her larynx is not opening the way it should, and so she appears to have laryngeal paralysis. Clearly, her airway is not opening. When you want to take a deep breath, you know, you can do that, and your larynx automatically opens wide. Hers does not. So I think our only choice here is going to be to do the tieback procedure, which is a different surgery. But I have a high suspicion that if we don't do it, she's not going to be any different than she was yesterday when you brought her.
The owners give consent for Dr. Bianucci to move forward. The more surgery that is done, the more swelling will occur, which will create more risks. Due to the risks associated with the procedure, the palate will not be addressed. Dr. Bianucci will only operate on the paralyzed larynx and remove the saccules.
It's turned out that this dog has laryngeal paralysis, which is a condition where the larynx doesn't function normally. It's not going to be a simply just kind of thing, I don't think. I think it's going to be a little more difficult than usual. Can't see very well here. So what we did is we removed some fibrotic tissue, we opened up the airway, and removed some of the redundant tissue on the inside. We decided to wait on the palate. Sometimes doing less is more in these guys, because the more you get in and do, the more inflammation you cause and the more discomfort and dysfunction you may have after surgeries.
Dixie will be monitored overnight while she recovers from surgery. It is possible her larynx may collapse or become progressively worse, but Dr. Bianucci is hopeful she will make it through another night.
Are you Dixie's parents?
Yes, we are.
Hey, I'm Henry Bianucci.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How are you? What exactly went on yesterday?
Dixie thinks when the harness goes on, she's supposed to go out the door. So she was running around, you know, my company came in and she just, she was so excited and but her breathing just got worse and worse and worse.
But she's never had a problem before.
Nope.
I mean, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay, so that's unusual. It's not unusual for a dog to have problems and then suddenly have bad problems, but it is unusual for them to have no problems and then suddenly have bad problems. Anytime you're doing surgery on an airway on a bulldog, it's always, you're on sort of red alert. They're one of the most worrisome cases that we have. Airways in bulldogs can go bad quickly. Now, we do have got a nice tube in there. We're gonna let her recover. She's breathing fine. She's, breathing clear, but she's breathing through this tube right now. Tomorrow, we may make the decision to pull that tube.
Okay.
And if we do decide to pull that, then then we'll keep her for a while just to make sure she's, doesn't get worked out. As long as she's clear, then we'll send her home.
Okay.
Okay?
Can we see her?
Right now is probably not a good time because she's still in recovery and I really want to keep her calm.
Yeah, we'll just come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys take care and I'll talk to you in a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We'll see you later. Okay, bye.
He was very honest and down to earth and, told it like it was. And that's what we need.
I think there's a chance that her larynx could collapse more. It's already showing some early signs of collapse, but I think in the near term, I think we're probably going to do well.
At Veterinary Specialty Care, Dixie has made it through another night.
Well, this morning at 8 o'clock, she made the decision for us to pull out her endotracheal tube. Dixie actually pulled it out, and so I got a call from the emergency clinic this morning early, about 7:30, and they told me that that had happened, and I told them to go ahead and leave it out. because they told me she was breathing well. She was put on watch to monitor her closely, and her breathing continued clear all day. So after proving to us that she could maintain herself without that tube, we sent her home.
Dixie has a large incision where the temporary tracheotomy was done, which will need to be monitored as it heals from the inside out. Ideally, the swelling should come down around her larynx as well, but infection is always a possibility during recovery.
So you can see she's still got that incision open there on the bottom, okay? And you know for now, we're gonna just have to keep her as calm as possible. How does this sound compared to how she did before this help?
A big time difference.
A lot better?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean.
More so than like a week ago. Do you think it's better than like a week ago?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh good.
See, she's still doing a little bit of that.
Let's throw up some.
Regurgitation is common after surgery, but the biggest worry is how Dixie's larynx and trachea recover post-operatively. Dixie's owners will have to make sure she stays out of the hot summer heat and remains calm for several weeks.
Goodbye, beautiful. Goodbye, little girl. Okay. Dixie went home today. We're never going to make a greyhound out of her, but she definitely was breathing clear. According to her owner, she's breathing far better than she had, even a week ago. So I'm really pleased. That was a case that had me worried. I'm cautiously, more optimistic now. I think she's going to do fine.
Although Dr. Bianucci is hopeful, time will tell if Dixie is able to breathe better and live infection-free after the surgery. It's been 6 months since Penny's visit to Dr. Berger. She has grown so much that she is too large to transport in a car. So Dr. Berger is making a house call to Sarah's home in Ridgeville, South Carolina. Dr. Berger will be examining Penny's neurological behavior to see if the calcium supplements were able to resolve the issue.
I don't know if she'll let me, but I'll try and listen to her heart and lungs, see how she's doing there.
Penny is still learning how to trust humans, and her natural instinct is to defend herself. And Emu's first order of defense is to peck at the eyes. The cameraman seems to be an easy target.
Sneak in here. I'm going to kind of harass her a little bit just to see what she does at speed.
By making himself appear larger, Dr. Berger is able to evoke a defensive reaction from Penny to see how she runs.
Wobbling's totally gone. There's no signs of any neurological disease, which is great also because we can kind of back into the fact that we didn't have any of the viral diseases that are transmitted by mosquitoes. We're going to follow up in a few weeks with vaccinations that will prevent her from getting any of those viral diseases as well. Okay. So now you can see that we have an emu that's grown a lot and is even ganglier than before, but is very coordinated, can get away from us, can steal stethoscopes off our necks and run away with them. So basically what we have is an emu whose calcium levels are correct. Well, everything neurologically looks perfect today, so I'm really pleased.
We're very excited that it wasn't something neurological that Penny had and that it was just a calcium deficiency. We caught it just in time that she was still young and growing. The fact that we put her on the emu diet, she caught back up, so to speak, with her bone structure, that it's not impacting her anymore. She's completely healthy.
Trauma seemed to be in her future, so the fact that she escaped that and Sarah was able to get on top of it really quickly and dedicate herself to getting the calcium levels up really prevented a disaster. It's a nice thing to see.
It's a relief to know the calcium supplements were able to resolve Penny's neurological issues. She is now completely healthy and able to live a normal life. It's been 3 months since Dixie's surgery, and her owners have brought her back to veterinary specialty care for a follow-up exam with Dr. Bianucci.
Hey, good to see you. Nice to see you. How are you?
Good.
So, I could hear him from about a door and a half down, so that's a little better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Since she's been home, she's been doing great. Her incisions healed, and she has just been back to her old bouncy self.
She looks like she's put on a couple pounds for the winter. Has she done that?
Yeah.
You know, you can still hear some restriction in that airway, and we knew we weren't making it perfect because we had some collapse going on, and we had a lot of work to do there. But I would try to keep the weight off of her. Now, if we can get her down closer to a normal weight, we can improve her respiratory function by, you know, like 30%.
Losing weight would help decrease Dixie's insulation, so she won't have to work so hard to cool herself. This will also mean less respiratory effort overall and less overall body mass to provide oxygen to.
So, you know, the only way I can really tell you what's going on in that trachea and in that larynx would be to put her under anesthesia and look. And I don't see any point in doing that with her doing this well. So, you know, clinically, I would say this is actually better than I had expected.
Hello, sweetie. Okay. Well, you know where I am, so if there's any questions, any problems, let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
Alrighty.
All right. Goodbye, you big beauty. Goodbye, sweet girl.
Yeah, okay. All right. Dixie recovered better and really did better than I would have thought because we weren't able to achieve everything we wanted to because of the collapse that was there. She'll always be a little bit loud. I think as long as they can keep her weight off and keep her exercise consistent and fairly controlled, especially in hot weather, I think she has a good chance of doing well for a long time.
I mean, he did a fantastic job, and we were very pleased.
I feel very relieved that we got what we got out of it. She's a sweet dog. They love her, especially working as a team. Having Dr. Ludwig come in and give her opinion and making these decisions together, it really makes you feel like you're operating at the top of your profession because you're able to make the right choices and take these terrible situations and reverse them. So yeah, it's definitely a good feeling.